Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Carmel and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my beginner-friendly drugstore makeup starter kit. So whether you are new to makeup, whether you are getting back into makeup, or whether you are just feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all of the choices out there and you just want to have a makeup kit that makes you feel a little bit more confident but doesn't break the bank, I've got you covered. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. A lot of these products that I'm going to be recommending to you today are my holy grail products. So don't think that we are scrimping on quality, even though we are taking into consideration price and how easy they are to use. And of course, we are going to be using drugstore makeup brushes to apply this makeup. I think it's important to start with your eyebrows because when you are applying other products to your face, there is a chance that you are going to get some remnants of skincare or foundation, concealer, whatever it is, into your eyebrow area. And eyebrow products are notoriously difficult to apply over other products. I like to use a brow pen. Now, the best brow pen at the drugstore is this from Maybelline. This is the Maybelline Build Brow. This is a fantastic brow pen. However, I feel like brow pens can be quite an advanced product to try and figure out. So there are lots of brow pencils that are really good at the drugstore actually. I really like this one. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Brows 24-hour micro pencil. If you don't know what you're doing with your eyebrows, you don't know what shape they're supposed to be, all you need to do, go into Google and type in brow mapping and it will bring up some really useful tips on how to map out your eyebrows. Just take your brow pencil and go from the side of your nose straight up, and that's where your eyebrow should start in the middle. Okay, just do a little dot there, and then the other side, making sure your brow pencil is actually straight. I'm a nightmare for that. Do a little mark there, and then I think you're supposed to go from the middle of your nose and look straight ahead. Go through the pupil of your eye, and this is where your arch is supposed to be, and then where the tail is supposed to be, you go from the bottom of your nose diagonally, and that's where the tail is supposed to end. So we'll do that for both sides. Okay, so then all you need to do is fill in really, really lightly. I don't know what shade this is. I'm assuming it's kind of a black brown because that's what I usually go for. So all you're going to do is lightly fill in. This L'Oreal one is really good because it stays really sharp. And all you're going to do is just lightly feather. And I always say that it's best to, if you have sparser brows, fill in from the top rather than the bottom. Try and lift your eyebrow a little bit and it will give you that lift. Makeup is great for that. And if it is looking a little bit harsh in places, just do what I'm doing and just brush it through with the spoolie. So the good thing about using an eyebrow pencil instead of a brow pen is that you will get a much softer eyebrow. If you pick a brow holding product that is really, really good, it will find any teeny tiny eyebrow hair that you didn't know that you had. And this is the product that I use every single day, the E.l.f. Brow Laminating Gel. It looks very white on the brush, but it dries clear. This will give you fuller looking brows, even though you might think that you don't have any eyebrow hairs, and it will hold those brows in place all day. So all we'll do is we'll brush up and just follow the shape that we've already drawn out with the pencil. And please do not drive yourself absolutely insane trying to get your eyebrows completely symmetrical. The chances of that happening are extremely slim. Okay, what do we say? Sisters, not twins. Or if, like my friend Clara, you might say that they are cousins living in different states. Now, if you are in a position like me where you have maybe the leftovers of some microblading, or you just want your eyebrows to be a little bit sharper, you can use a little bit of concealer just underneath your eyebrows. Now I do that every day. So I'm taking an old Morphe brush, just a really, really small one like this, and I'm going to dip it in some concealer, the concealer that we're using today, but I'm not going to talk about that just yet. All I'm going to do is carve out that brow. It just looks so much better. Okay, brows are done. Today we are not going to be using an actual primer on our skin. I will always say this to you, the best primer that you can have on your face before makeup is skincare. I'm actually bored of hearing myself say this, so gosh knows what you are thinking, because I know that some people watch all of my videos and I must just sound so boring by going over the same points over and over again. But I very rarely use a primer. All I do is prep my skin properly. So I'm 42, I've got dry skin, so I need to make sure that I have a hydrated base. If I don't, my makeup is going to dry out on my face and I'm going to look like a creasy mess. So I am going to suggest that you go in with a moisturizer that is also a great makeup base. This is actually one of my favorites. Now, this is the smaller version of the bigger version. So this is the Embryolisse Lait-Crème Concentrate. Now, if you go for the big size, it's definitely the most expensive thing in this whole routine. And I'm not telling you that you need to go and purchase this. I think you can probably pick this little one up for £7 or £8 possibly. So this is great because it is a moisturizer and it's a makeup primer in one. So it's designed for makeup to go over the top of it. You can get one with an SPF as well. And let's get this hair out of the way. It just absorbs so nicely into the skin. And it's not too heavy. It kind of feels a little bit like a hybrid between a moisturizer and a serum. I would always encourage everybody to wear an SPF. We don't need to go over the reasons as to why. We all know why it's important to wear an SPF. I have a ton of SPFs at the drugstore, but my favorite is the E.l.f. Suntouchable Whoa Glow. I have a good few of these little minis. These are amazing for traveling, popping in your handbag. And they are, again, an amazing primer for your makeup. So that's the consistency of it, and it's extremely lightweight and it works so well with any skincare that you already have on. So I'm just going to rub that in, and it's just, it feels absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, it doesn't leave a white cast, it's not heavy, it's just so smooth. So we are going to let our face sit there while we move on to our eyes. So I definitely feel like eyeshadow can seem a little bit daunting. That's why I've chosen today not to choose a palette for the eyes. We are going in with a really simple one and done eyeshadow. And these are the Revlon Colorstay Cream Eyeshadows. These are amazing because they're so easy to blend out and use. But one of the main reasons is that you do not have to prep your eyelids for these. You can put this onto bare lids. I've chosen to use my favorite shade, which is the shade Caramel. This is as good as any high-end one and done eyeshadows, I promise you that. So they come in these little pots. This is the shade Caramel, and it's just a perfect neutral shade. And I use the exact same brush for all of my cream eyeshadows. Then this is the Real Techniques base shadow brush. Now you can see that it's small, but it's a little bit fluffy, but it has some density to it. So it's absolutely perfect for cream eyeshadow. And you can see how much I've picked up there. So just taking it all over your eyelid. They actually do matte versions of these, as far as I'm aware as well. How would you describe this? It's not a shimmer. Maybe it's a little bit metallic-y looking, possibly. And all I do is I just take my finger and I blend up towards the brow bone. And you can build these up if you want to. And I'm just going to swirl that brush into here. And I'm just going to just take it back and forth towards my crease and blend out a little bit. And do the same on the other side. So because we are going back to basics, we are not going to be using an eyeliner today. Eyeliners can be that next step up, that next skill level. But if you feel confident with it, then definitely go in with one. So we're moving on to mascara now. Honestly, the Drugstore do mascara phenomenally well. Much better, I would say, than luxury high-end. I mean, there are a couple of high-end mascaras that I really do adore, but I always come back to the Drugstore. And when I was thinking about doing this video, it was an absolute no-brainer which mascara I was going to use. And if you've been here before, you know what it's going to be. It's the Essence Lash Without Limits. This is my #1 Drugstore mascara without a doubt. I mean, there are other ones that I truly adore, but none come close to this. It's my ride or die. It never lets me down. It's amazing. It's supposed to be a tubing mascara. Now, if you don't know what a tubing mascara is, basically tubing mascaras are different to normal mascaras in the fact that they have a formula that contains polymers, and these polymers wrap around each individual lash, and when you remove them, they kind of come off. It looks like your eyelashes are coming off on your cotton pad or whatever, because it comes out in these stringy like textures. This doesn't feel like a tubing mascara to me. Nothing about it does, but if it says it's a tubing mascara, then it is, but it comes off like a normal mascara. The thing about this is it actually comes in a brown as well, and it's a true brown. So there you go, you can see there's the black and there's the brown. So it has this brush that is tapered, and it is so densely packed with these beautiful bristles that cling onto every lash. Don't be doing this with your mascara, okay? That is not good for your mascara. It just creates air pockets in your tube, and it's going to affect the formulation of the mascara. Now, I have actually learned a new technique recently from Smitha Deepak. If you don't know who she is, then you need to. She's absolutely incredible. Smitha's tip is to take the mascara and go over the tips of your lashes like this. Okay, so we've done the tips of the lashes, and now she says to take the mascara wand and then go in from the base of the lash and just wiggle up. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I really do struggle to do my mascara when I'm talking. Look, I've already got it here. Don't touch it. If you get mascara on your skin or where your eyeshadow is, just leave it alone. I'll show you a way of getting rid of it. I'm going to speed this bit up. I just love this mascara. It's so easy to use, and I would hand on my heart recommend this to any beginner. It just so happens that it's one of my favourites as well. So I have got a few bits of mascara on my eyelids. Don't worry about it. Take your spoolie from before. Take the one that you use for your eyebrows. Wait till this dries. So all you need to do once it's dried down is take your spoolie and just flick it, and it will just come off. I always start my complexion with my under eyes. The reason that I do my under eyes first is because when I use the foundation that I'm going to be using today, I don't want to bring it under my eyes. So you might really want to start colour correcting under your eyes, but I think unless you feel really super confident with makeup and you really studied your under eyes, I would just leave that alone for now. Honestly, sometimes all we need under our eyes is a little bit of brightening. So today we will go in with a brightener, but it's really easy to use, and then we're going to go in with a concealer. So the brightener that we are going to use is this one from e.l.f. This is the Putty Colour Correcting Eye Brightener, and this is such an incredible product. This is in the shade Light Medium, and it's quite an emollient product. And it really is that kind of formula that melts into the skin. And if you look at my under eyes now, you can see how dark they are. I always like to use my ring finger when I'm applying products because I feel like it just gives you that perfect amount of pressure. So I'm just going to tap this onto where my darkness is. Now, I know that I always say this, but I'm going to say it again. Don't be bringing product to this area underneath your lash line. That's where we have all of our fine lines and our wrinkles, and if we put product there, it's really going to settle into those lines. Tapping that product in, can you see how it's just melted into the skin and how it has already minimized the darkness? And I'm going to bring it in to that inner corner as well. Although my eyes are still dark, it's definitely helped. Going to do the other side. So we're going to go in with concealer now, and you know, there are some really good concealers at the drugstore, but there was only one that I was ever going to use today. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, and I have this in the shade 20. Just being honest, I feel like this is a little bit yellow for me, but it's fine. I think that's the one thing about the drugstore, is the shades can be a little bit questionable sometimes. So I am using a brush for this, and actually, you know what? I don't even know what this brush is called because it's come off. So it's this one. I will pop on the screen what it is. So I'm just tapping into the product on the back of my hand, kind of working it into the brush, and then I'm just going to tap it. Now, you see how it's angled, and it's angled so that you're not going to face it upwards towards your lash line. You're kind of getting into that contour of your eye rather than bringing it all the way up. You don't want to be bringing this concealer, again, up towards your lash line. And all I'm doing is tapping it in. I'm not swiping it underneath my eye and dragging the product around. I'm pushing it into the skin. Always start with a minimum amount of product and add, because it's so hard to take product away once it's on your face. And I would describe it as a medium coverage concealer, but it's definitely buildable. We are keeping it really light on the face today. I feel like until you really know and understand what your preferences are, until you are really confident with applying foundation, go for something that's lightweight, but that will still give you coverage, because I'm not a light coverage girly. Okay, I like coverage on my face. I don't like heavy coverage or full coverage at all, but a light to a solid medium is my preference. So I have two options for you, and I'm going to tell you why I've given you two options. So the one that we're going to be using today is this by L'Oreal. This is the True Match Nude Plumping Tinted Serum. I mean, this is one of my all-time favorite complexion products. It's an incredible foundation / skin tint. However, some people will avoid this because it contains something called denatured alcohol. Denatured alcohol you will find in a lot of makeup products, skincare products, and it helps with absorption. It helps with how well that product will blend. And people will avoid it because they have sensitive skin or they have dry skin, and they feel like with continued use it might dry out their skin. I would like to suggest this. This is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. Oh gosh, this is an absolutely beautiful product, and definitely not just a skin tint. It gives you a good light to medium coverage. I absolutely would recommend this, and as far as I know, it does not contain alcohol. That's another great option. But today we have to go in with this because I just love it. I love it so much. So we're going to give it a good shake. The reason that I've chosen this product is because I truly feel like it is suitable for the majority of skin types, whether you've got dry, normal, oily. I think that it would suit every skin type. And another reason that I've chosen this is because these have flexible shades, and listen, whether you are a beginner in makeup or whether you are more advanced, choosing a shade of foundation or skin tint is hard. I still get it wrong, but with a product like this, they have flexible shade ranges. So even if you pick something that is probably a little bit too dark, because it melts into the skin and because it's more lightweight, it will not be as obvious. So this is the shade 3 to 4, which is light medium. The only thing that is annoying is this dropper. You can buy a pump off Amazon for this serum. So don't struggle with it. So I just pick up a little bit on the back of my hand. Now it's worth noting that a lot of people do report that they experience some oxidizing with this, so it might turn a little bit darker, it might even go a little bit orange, but I've not really experienced that massively. Sometimes I have thought that, but no, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. So all I'm doing this with my fingers, by the way. You don't need a brush for this. So I'm just taking it onto the skin and just rubbing it in. It feels like a beautiful lightweight cream. And remember what I said from before, you're not bringing it underneath your eye. We've done our under eyes. So all we're going to do is just blend to the top of the cheekbone and blend it in with that concealer. And you can go in with your concealer brush afterwards just to blend it together. So all we're going to do is just blend this into the skin. Oh, I mean, I just love this. I love everything about it. And you know what? Sometimes I stop using it because I need to use everything else that I have. But every time I go back to it, I just think to myself, how is this a drugstore product? Because it just feels so high end. Honestly, I don't think this is the cheapest. I think it might have cost me 13 to 16 euros. I mean, look at my skin. It just looks like my skin, but a billion times better than my skin. Look at it. And do you know, in terms of the finish, people report different finishes to this. And on me, this is just a really natural finish. I don't get an overly glowy finish, but some people say that this gives them super glow. But for me, no, it doesn't. So I'm truly happy with my complexion today. I would absolutely recommend this to anybody. I can't speak highly enough of it. Next up, I would always go in with bronzer or contour. I very rarely go in with both. Contour is usually a cool toned or a neutral toned product, so it's supposed to mimic the natural structure of your face. However, bronzer is supposed to just give a little bit of warmth to the face. Ordinarily, on a day-to-day basis, I generally use cream and liquid products because they are more flattering on my mature skin and I find them easy to work with. However, I know that a lot of people can feel like creams and liquids are daunting. So today we are going to stick with powder products. We are going to just stick with bronzer today. It's honestly one of my all-time favorites. It's the Rimmel Natural Bronzer, and I have this in the shade 002 Sun Bronze. And can you see how blurring it is as well? It's just so pretty. So I'm going in with quite a big brush. This is a Real Techniques brush again. Now, again, the name has come off it, but I will pop on the screen the name of the brush, but I'm pretty sure that this is a bronzing brush. And it does pick up a lot of products. So when it picks up a lot of products, well, with anything really, apart from creams, you need to tap off. And you see how much comes off there? So always get rid of that excess. We're not going to go down where the bottom of our cheekbone is. We're going to come above that and we're just going to tap and we're going to blend in an upwards direction. Now I'm coming up towards my temple. However, I do not blend into my temple because I have very sunken temples. Obviously they have sunken over time. It's just a natural process. And if I put bronzer there, because bronzer is dark, it's going to push them in even further. So I'm going to avoid doing that. For blush, there are plenty of beautiful powder blushes at the drugstore, but there's one that always stands out in my mind as being as close to high end as I can possibly think of. And it's this one from E.l.f. This is their primer infused matte blush and it applies so beautifully. It's pigmented, but it's not too pigmented. And this is the shade Always Crushing. I'm going to take my Real Techniques. I'm pretty sure this is a powder brush and I snapped the end of it. We're going to go high up on the cheekbones and just kind of blend up again, but you don't want to go like completely under your eye. Just apply little bits at a time. I would advise you, until you really understand your skin type, until you understand what makeup sits well on your face, I would avoid powder because let me tell you something about powder. It can really make a makeup look, but it can wreck it. It can destroy it as well, because powder is inevitably going to be dry, and I use it very, very minimally. So there's two types of powders that you can use. You can use a pressed powder, which is ideal for setting the face, so T-zone, and then there are loose powders, which are absolutely ideal for underneath the eye. They tend to be more finely milled, they tend to be more hydrating, so I would never use a pressed powder underneath my eyes. It's just too heavy, and pressed powders tend to give you coverage which you don't want under your eyes. Honestly, the minimal amount of products you use under your eyes, the better. So in terms of loose powder, I really like this one. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. If you are in the UK or Ireland, this is only available on Amazon, which is really annoying. The only thing is, I prefer my powder to be really, really light in colour. This does lean a little bit yellow. The pressed powder that I'm going to recommend as well is also from Maybelline. This is the Fit Me Matte Poreless Pressed Powder. This is in the shade Natural Ivory. So for this, I'm going to pick up my Real Techniques Expert Concealer Brush, because when I powder underneath my eyes, I'm not taking a big puff and pressing it underneath my whole eye, because I'm not 16. And if I do that, it's going to look a big, dry, cakey mess. All I need is a little bit of powder where my hollow is. That's it. Because at the moment you can see it's reflective. If I put powder there, it's going to mattify it, and it's going to stop it being so visible. Let me just tap in. Oh, let me show you the brush first. And you can see it's just ideal for fitting into an under eye bag. Isn't that great? The first thing I would suggest doing is going in with your concealer brush before you powder and just tap, just to make sure that you've got all of those creases out, and then just press it in. Just mattify the area that you want mattifying. Avoid that lower lash line, don't forget. And then I'm going to take my E.l.f. powder brush. Again, the name has come off it, which is so annoying. But I'm going to tap into the powder. I don't need much of this. Just tapping in, tapping off, and I'm going to bring it just in problematic areas. So for me, it's my nose. And I'm just going to bring some here. Just around here. By my nose. So I know some people live for highlight and some people don't. I do not live for highlight. However, I love one particular highlighter, and it is from the drugstore. So this is my favorite. This is the Lumi Le Glace, and I have this in the shade Glassy Pearly Claret. So that's what it looks like. And it's so subtle. You know, you can barely see it. Now it's wet looking, and it comes out wet looking, but it definitely dries down for sure. I'm going to use my Real Techniques. This is the setting brush. With all highlighters, whether you like it or not, they are not miracle workers. If you're highlighting an area, it's making that area stand out. And if that area has texture, you're gonna see the texture. So I'm just going to put a little bit on the top of the cheekbones and then just blend it. I'm not using a lot of this. I actually like to use this on my eyelids, believe it or not, for no makeup days. I have the same opinion of setting sprays that I do of powders, and that if you get a setting spray that doesn't work with you, your skin, the makeup that you have on, it can completely ruin the makeup look, completely. So I would suggest just giving it a miss, all right? Once you understand your skin type, then pick a setting spray. But it's not essential to have in your makeup kits. So when it comes to the lips, obviously you're going to be thinking about lip liners. So my favorite lip liners are these from Maybelline, the Lifter lip liners. And if I was to choose one lip liner for the rest of my life, it would be the Lifter liners. I have them in so many different colors. They're amazing. But today we're going for an even more affordable option, and we are going to go in with the E.l.f. Cream Glide lip liners. Now this one, I've sharpened both ends. Why? Why did I do that? This is in the shade Pinky Swear. There it is, perfect nude pink. So I learned a technique recently, and this technique just says to avoid lining your whole lip, so we don't need to bring to the corners of the mouth. So just concentrate the lip liner in the middle and kind of blend back a little bit. And it actually does give the illusion of fuller lips. So in terms of lips, people either prefer a matte lip, they prefer a glossy lip, or they prefer a lip gloss, they might prefer a satin lip, you know, somewhere in between. I think for this, for a beginner makeup kit, I would suggest going in with more of a balmy type lip product. I think they're easier to apply. They're just more appropriate for beginners. So today we're going in with this from Revlon, the Super Lustrous Lip Balms. If you are in the UK Ireland, you will see these with black packaging. These have always been available over this side of the world, but from what I heard, they left the US and then they have made a comeback, but they are now in white packaging. So I have this in the shade Nude Illuminator, which is there next to the lip liner. They are so comfortable, so hydrating, so nourishing, balmy and gorgeous. So that is Nude Illuminator. So that is it, my recommendations for a beginner drugstore makeup kit. I really hope that this video was helpful. I really tried to pick products that I feel would suit so many different types of people and skin types. I did try to pick products that I thought were pretty accessible to the majority of people, but let me know, what would you add to your drugstore starter makeup kit? I would love to hear what your suggestions are, and the comment section is just such a helpful place for sharing product recommendations and ideas and just generally sharing your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. But until then, take care and bye for now.